Roguelikes on Switch hit different. You die, you lose everything, and somehow you go right back in. This list covers 25 of the best ones, from brand new releases to absolute classics. Let's get into it. Vampire Crawlers, the Turbo Wildcard from Vampire Survivors. The people who made Vampire Survivors just released a whole new game, and it flips everything you know about the original on its head. Instead of bullet hell chaos, this is a turn-based deck builder where you crawl through dungeons, build a hand of cards, and chain them together in the right mana order to pull off massive combo attacks. That chaining system is called the Turbo Turn, and it's the whole game. A 50 damage card can become a 6,000 damage finisher if you play your cards in the right sequence. Between turns, you pick up experience, smash chests for power-ups, and chase weapon evolutions that completely break the game in the best way. The dungeons are randomized, the runs are short, and every card you draft feels like a choice that actually matters. It launched in April 2026 and already has overwhelmingly positive reviews.
To your aid, I say.
Blueprints is one of those games you have to experience to understand. You play as Simon, who inherits a 45-room mansion from his eccentric uncle, under one condition: find the hidden 46th room to claim the estate. Every day, the mansion resets, and you rebuild its layout by drafting rooms from random sets of 3. You have a limited number of steps per run, so every single move matters. Notes, books, and photographs scattered throughout the rooms slowly build out a mystery that never explains itself directly to you. There are no NPCs holding your hand, just your growing understanding of how the house works and what it's hiding. The whole thing deepens the more time you spend with it. It won Best Indie Game at the Game Awards 2025 and is now on Switch too. This one stays with you. Absolum is a beat-em-up roguelite from Guard Crush, the team behind Streets of Rage 4, and you can feel that pedigree immediately. You're in a dark fantasy world called Tala, fighting back against the forces of a tyrant named Azra, using fast, combo-heavy brawling. You pick a character and push through branching paths, mixing rapid attacks, elemental spells, and counters that reward timing. As you clear encounters, you unlock rituals, which are passive abilities that stack and shape your fighting style across the run. Beating bosses drops inspirations, active skills that layer on top of everything else. The story actually ties into why you keep replaying, which is rare for this kind of game. The art from Studio Supamonks is jaw-dropping. It supports co-op both on the couch and online. One of the most underrated releases of 2025.
Of the Sun King who dares stand in your path. According to your favorite playstyle, you can choose to find
Ball X Pit takes the classic Arkanoid brick-breaking formula and builds a full roguelite around it. You control an adventurer at the bottom of a pit, firing balls upward at waves of monsters slowly descending toward you. Between waves, you choose from random power-ups and evolve your balls by combining types together. Fire plus iron makes a bomb. Lightning plus wind makes a storm. Get the right synergy, and the screen fills with chaotic, satisfying destruction. After each run, you bring resources back to a small base, unlocking new characters and permanent upgrades. Runs are short, around 15 to 20 minutes, making it perfect for handheld play. It has that classic one more run quality that's hard to shake. Published by Devolver Digital and continuously updated since launch, with new characters and modes added throughout 2026. Shogun King, the final checkmate. This game has a ridiculous premise that completely works. You are the Black King on a chessboard, and your only piece is yourself, armed with a shotgun. You move one square at a time the way a chess king normally would, and you blast white pieces before they close in on you. After each floor, you pick an upgrade for your gun, but the game also forces you to buff the white army at the same time. That trade-off becomes the whole tension of the game, building your own power while the enemy side grows more dangerous because of choices you made. The pixel art is clean, the tone is self-aware and fun, and it's genuinely deeper strategically than it sounds. Short sessions, high replayability, and a very low price. A weird, clever concept executed with real confidence. Inscryption starts as a card game, being played in a dark cabin with a cloaked figure watching from across the table. You build a deck of creatures, sacrifice weaker ones to play stronger ones, and fight through encounters. But what you think the game is in the first hour is not what it actually turns out to be. There are escape room elements built into the cabin itself, environmental secrets hiding in plain sight, and a story that keeps pulling back layers. The deck building mechanics are genuinely great on their own, but the game uses them to do something far stranger and more ambitious. It won multiple major awards and became one of those titles people discuss carefully to avoid spoiling anything for newcomers. Going in with no information is the correct way to experience it. One of the most original games of the last decade. Into the Breach puts you in command of a squad of mechs defending cities against alien creatures called the Vek. The board is a small grid. Every enemy telegraphs its attack one turn in advance, and your job is to reposition things so those attacks miss or hit other enemies instead. It plays more like solving a sequence of spatial puzzles than a traditional strategy game, and it's remarkable how much depth the small board generates. Different mech squads unlock over time, and each one plays entirely differently. The genius is that almost nothing in the moment is random. The variety comes from which squads and enemies combine across different runs. Made by the creators of FTL, this is a tight, elegant design that rewards thinking above everything else. Every decision carries real weight. Spelunky 2 puts you in the boots of Anna Spelunky, heading underground to find her parents somewhere on the moon. It's one of the most systems-rich games ever made. Every item, creature, trap, and NPC interacts with everything else in ways that generate genuinely surprising moments, even after hundreds of hours. There are hidden shortcuts, alternate routes through the world, a liquid physics engine that adds layers of unpredictability, and lore buried so deep, most players never find it. You will die constantly at first, often to things that seem unfair, but are actually teaching you something about how the world works. The gap between a beginner and a skilled player is enormous, and closing it is one of the most rewarding progressions in any roguelike. Brutal, fascinating, and endlessly deep. Inkulinati is set inside medieval manuscripts. You play as a young master of living ink, commanding tiny, hand-drawn creatures across illuminated pages in turn-based tactical combat. You travel with a talking donkey companion, learning your craft while uncovering a larger conflict at the heart of the manuscript world. Each creature has unique abilities, and the edges of the page act as deadly drop-offs, so positioning matters enormously. The opponent masters you face each have their own distinct strategies and personality. The visual style is directly inspired by real medieval illustration, and it's completely stunning in motion. It's charming and strange in equal measure, with a surprising amount of tactical depth under its whimsical surface. A genuinely one-of-a-kind game that doesn't exist anywhere else. Shogun Showdown is a precise, grid-based roguelike, where you place attack tiles into slots around your warrior and choose when to activate them. Enemies move in predictable patterns, so reading the battlefield and planning ahead is everything. Between fights, you upgrade your tiles, add new abilities, and build toward combinations that can clear rooms in satisfying chains. The samurai aesthetic and clean pixel art match the deliberate gameplay really well. It's short enough to finish in a few hours on a first clear, but deep enough to reward coming back for better strategies. It doesn't pad itself with unnecessary content. It sets out to do one specific thing and does it with confidence. For players who like roguelikes that respect their time while still offering real depth, this is a great pick. Shovel Knight Dig sends the beloved knight downward rather than forward. An enemy named Drill Knight steals his gold and burrows straight into the earth, and you follow. Developed by Nitrome, the game drops you into procedurally generated underground layers where you dig, dodge, collect relics and gear, and fight bosses designed in the classic Shovel Knight style, where learning the pattern is satisfying rather than punishing. The momentum of the downward dig gives runs a strong rhythm, and the power-ups you find change your approach each time. Relics add special abilities, alternate paths hide secrets, and the challenge scales up the deeper you go. It has the same tight controls and high-quality pixel art fans expect from the series. a natural fit for the roguelite format and a great standalone experience. Moonlighter splits its time between two very different loops that complement each other surprisingly well. You play as Will, a merchant in a small town who dreams of adventure. By day, you run a shop, pricing items based on customer reactions and managing your stock to turn a profit. By night, you dive into one of 5 dungeon types with procedurally generated layouts, fighting monsters and looting whatever you can carry back. Your inventory has a curse system where item placement in your bag matters, adding a light puzzle element to each run. Gold from the shop funds better weapons and armor. Better gear lets you go deeper. Deeper dives bring back rarer goods. It's a satisfying cycle with a warm story underneath it. A clever game that works because both halves are actually good on their own. Enter the Gungeon is a bullet hell roguelike set in a dungeon built entirely around the concept of guns. Everything is a gun pun, every enemy is a bullet-themed creature, and the lore is that a legendary gun exists somewhere inside that can kill the past. You pick a character with their own backstory and starting weapon, then fight through increasingly chaotic floors, dodging elaborate bullet patterns while roll-canceling through gaps. The variety of guns you collect across a run ranges from sensible to completely absurd, and discovering synergies between items and weapons is one of the game's best feelings. There are hidden rooms, stranded NPCs to rescue, secret floors, and bosses with multi-phase patterns. The amount of content is staggering, challenging from the start and deeply rewarding once it clicks. Balatro is a poker-based deck builder and one of the most addictive games released in recent memory. You play hands of poker to push your score past a target number, but every run you collect joker cards that fundamentally change how your hands are valued. One joker might multiply flush scores tenfold. Another might add a bonus for every card you discard. The combinations spiral quickly, and building toward a broken synergy is the entire pull of the game. There's no story here, but there doesn't need to be. The loop is completely pure. Runs take about an hour, and every single one plays differently depending on which jokers appear. It launched to massive acclaim in 2024 and became one of the best-selling indie games of the year. On Switch, played handheld, it's dangerously easy to lose an entire afternoon to. Cult of the Lamb combines a roguelite dungeon crawler with a cult management sim, and the gap between the cute art style and the dark subject matter is a big part of the appeal. You play as a lamb saved from death by an imprisoned god who asks you to build a devoted following. Crusades take you into procedurally generated dungeons where weapons and tarot cards change your combat options each run. Back at your camp, you construct buildings, feed your followers, preach sermons, and deal with the chaos of managing a growing congregation. Followers get old, fall ill, lose faith, and sometimes rebel. Managing all of it is genuinely funny and occasionally unsettling. The Crusades improve the base, and the base improves your Crusades. The two halves feed into each other in a way that keeps the whole thing balanced. A charming and strange game that earns its replayability. The Rogue Prince of Persia is combining fast-paced action with the series' iconic acrobatic movement. The story follows the prince as he tries to save Persia from a devastating Hun invasion empowered by dark magic. Thanks to a mystical artifact that brings him back after every defeat, each run becomes part of his journey as he learns more about the threat facing the kingdom. Gameplay focuses on fluid movement, allowing you to wall run, chain jumps, slide through hazards, and traverse levels with incredible speed. Combat is equally dynamic, featuring a variety of weapons, tools, and powerful medallions that can create unique builds every run. Procedurally generated levels, challenging enemies, hidden secrets, and permanent upgrades ensure that no two attempts feel the same. The combination of stylish parkour, responsive combat, and rewarding progression creates a highly replayable adventure that constantly encourages experimentation and mastery. Nobody Saves the World is an action RPG roguelite where you play as a featureless little person who finds a magic wand and discovers they can transform into over 15 different forms. Rat, ghost, horse, dragon, zombie, robot, each has a completely different set of attacks and abilities. The core mechanic is mixing abilities across forms to complete quest objectives that unlock passive upgrades. The more you experiment with combinations, the stronger your runs become. Dungeons get seriously challenging as the game goes on, but the progression always pushes you forward. The world is being swallowed by an ancient evil, and the story has a light, goofy tone that makes the darker moments land harder. It rewards curiosity above everything else, and the sheer variety means the game is constantly showing you something new. An underrated gem that deserves more attention. Dave the Diver is hard to put in a single box. You play as Dave, a heavyset diver who dives into the blue hole by day and runs a sushi restaurant by night. The dives are roguelite in structure, with the ocean floor shifting daily, fish to hunt with harpoons and underwater weapons, and deep-sea creatures ranging from peaceful to enormous and terrifying. Everything you catch supplies the restaurant, where you manage the menu, hire staff, and try to keep up with demand. Underneath the cozy surface loop is a massive story involving ancient underwater ruins, missing researchers, and conspiracies buried far beneath the ocean floor. The game never runs out of new ideas. It keeps introducing fresh mechanics, new locations, and unexpected genre shifts all the way through. One of the most creative and surprising games on the entire platform. The Binding of Isaac is one of the deepest and most densely packed roguelikes ever made. You play as Isaac, hiding in the basement below his house to escape his mother, who believes she's receiving divine instructions. He fights using tears as projectiles, and the items you pick up warp him in increasingly bizarre ways, splitting your shots, boosting damage to absurd levels, changing how your tears behave entirely. There are hundreds of items, and the synergies between them are the foundation of every run. Some combinations break the game in hilarious ways. The tone is dark and personal, drawn from the creator's own experiences, and it's unlike the tone of almost anything else in gaming. Afterbirth Plus piles new characters, items, challenges, and Steam Workshop support on top of an already enormous base. It asks patience from newcomers, but the payoff is massive. Rogue Legacy 2 takes the idea that every time you die, your child continues the journey. You pick from 3 heirs with random classes, weapons, and quirky traits that range from amusing to genuinely tricky to work with. The castle shifts its layout each run, but gold you earn carries over to a permanent upgrade tree that makes your lineage gradually stronger. There are many classes, each with a distinct playstyle, and unlocking and mastering them is a big part of the long-term draw. The late game gets difficult enough to demand real skill, but the upgrade system means you always feel like progress is happening. The pixel art is vibrant, the action is tight and responsive, and the tone has a warmth to it that makes dying feel less punishing than it could. A massive step up from the original in every way. Vampire Survivors is the auto-shooter that changed what people thought a small indie roguelite could be. You pick a character, walk around a map, and endless waves of monsters pour in from every direction. Your weapons fire automatically, and all you focus on is moving and choosing upgrades at level up. The goal is surviving 30 minutes, which sounds easy until the screen is overflowing with monsters, and your weapons have evolved into chaos machines, covering every inch of the map. Every run unlocks something new. Characters, stages, weapons, hidden secrets. The lo-fi pixel style and goofy enemies carry a real charm. It launched at a very low price and delivered more content than games costing 10 times as much. On Switch, it's a perfect handheld game, and one of the most influential indie titles of the last several years. Hades puts you in control of Zagreus, son of the god of the dead, fighting to escape the underworld against his father's wishes. You pick from 6 weapon types called Infernal Arms, each with multiple aspects that completely change how they handle. The gods of Olympus offer boons during your escape, and combining them creates powerful synergies to discover and master. Every death sends you back to the House of Hades, where conversations with the full cast of characters naturally advance a story built directly into the run loop. It was the first game to make roguelite structure and storytelling feel genuinely unified. The writing is sharp, the voice acting is excellent, the combat is fast and precise. Supergiant Games set a new bar for the entire genre with this one. If you've never played it, it needs to be at the top of your list. Dead Cells is an action roguelite with Metroidvania bones. You control a failed experiment, reanimating in a dungeon, and fight upward through a sprawling, decaying castle. Combat is fast, fluid, and demanding, with a huge variety of weapons across swords, bows, traps, turrets, and skills. Cells dropped by enemies fund permanent unlocks between runs, slowly expanding what can appear in each playthrough. Routes branch throughout the castle, and harder paths offer better rewards, letting you weigh risk against progression every run. The controls are so well tuned that even losing feels satisfying to play through. Dead Cells has been updated for years, with free content, new biomes, new bosses, new weapons, crossovers with other indie games. It remains one of the best feeling games to actually hold and play on Switch, a genre benchmark. Slay the Spire defined the roguelike deck builder. You pick a character and climb a procedurally generated tower, building a deck one card at a time by winning fights. Cards can be upgraded, relics modify your entire strategy, and the synergies between everything run incredibly deep. The Ironclad hits hard and tanks punishment. The Silent sets up poison and traps. The Defect cycles energy orbs in ways that bend the rules. Every character demands a fundamentally different approach, and the skill ceiling is genuinely enormous. The game balances luck and strategy better than almost anything in the genre. When you lose, you usually understand why, and when you win, it feels earned. It's been copied more than almost any other indie game, which tells you how well it works. A landmark that belongs in every Switch library. Hades 2 puts you in control of Melinoe, sister of Zagreus, who has been raised in secret by the Titan of Time with one purpose: reach Kronos, the god of time who has imprisoned Hades himself. The game gives you two paths to travel: down through a different part of the underworld and upward through the surface world of the living, each with unique biomes, enemies, and bosses. The boon system from the original returns and expands, with new Olympian gods and an Arcana card system that unlocks using resources gathered across runs. Melinoe's combat style leans into magic and casting alongside melee weapons, giving her a feel that's distinct from Zagreus. The story gets genuinely epic in scope. The writing, voice acting, and art design are exceptional across the board. Even as an ongoing game being updated regularly, it's already one of the finest roguelikes ever made. 25 roguelikes on Nintendo Switch and Switch 2. Whether you want something punishing, something chill, something weird, or something with a great story, this list has it covered. Drop a comment with your favorite, or tell me one I ranked too low. See you in the next one.